there's obviously going to be a reader-facing component that's going to go out to the various news sites and stuff. But we are here as company representatives to talk to you about not just the story details, but why we think it's going to do well in your stores and what consumers it might be for and how we're supporting it.
You think that's what they do?
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. I still approve, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Well, this is a different turn of events than what was planned.
Yes.
I was supposed to be in Pittsburgh right now.
Correct.
And you were most likely not going to be on this episode.
No, I wasn't planning on it.
Now you are here and I am here, and we'll see how long I am here for.
Could be a very short episode of Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast.
Don't mind the faces. They're just what I need to do to get through this.
I understand.
So, Comics Pro is happening right now.
Yes.
I just watched the data mining Zoom.
How was that?
It was good. It was Katie Pride from Books with Pictures moderated.
Mm-hmm.
Had our best friend Brian Garside from Managed Comics.
Uh-huh.
Django Boren from Comic Shop Assistant, I think it's called.
Okay.
Stu Colson from
Comic Hub,
and one other person who I forget their name and their function. I think they were more the direct market. I missed the first half hour.
Okay.
But I still got an hour
Sure.
of it. And I mean, they all said a lot of good things. They all planned on, like, hey, look, we need to unify data.
We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they're building a task force
Uh-huh.
that will meet once a month for the next year.
Okay.
I kind of feel like you should be on it.
I mean, if I was invited, I don't know what I could do, but
I mean, it was basically like, hey, who wants to be part of this? And they definitely want it to be frontline users.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to help in whatever way I can.
Yeah, but it would just be like scheduled Zoom meetings and things.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I mean,
one of those per month.
We'll see what the next few weeks looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
Then we'll revisit that.
Like, none of this happens until they all get back. And
of course.
The teams have to be built. But it was a lot of, hey, this is what we need to do, and this is why we do it, and breaking down what everything means per industry. And
sure.
It was a lot of, hey, publishers, here's why you should never, ever do this.
Yeah.
Here's why we need the data like this.
Just basic things where, like, core data should be available on a regular basis. Like, who are the writers and artists? Who's the cover artist? How many pages is it? How much does it cost? Very few of those things are reliably given to us every single solicit.
Yeah. And it was just a matter of, making everything as unified.
Right.
And deciding what the unification would be, and, if having extra fields that people could use or could not use. Brian Garside asked that since he and Stu are part of the Commonwealth, there should be a field specifically for metric.
Sure, that's fine.
And he was only joking, but they said, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, the more data, the better. Like, a lot of this stuff, the publishers definitely have it. It's just giving it to end users in a way that is useful.
And unified.
Yeah, I mean, that's the useful part, is like, giving it to everyone in a way that they can very easily take it on board and utilize it in some normal business way.
There was a point where someone asked a question of, is Diamond going to be part of this? And is anybody from Comic Suite involved in this group so far? Mm-hmm. And they said, no, but Chris Powell's right there. Point him out in the audience.
Yeah, it's the sort of industry initiative that doesn't work unless there's buy-in across the board.
Across the board. Every publisher.
Like, it doesn't help this task force if, for instance, if all they got was stuff from Lunar. Like,
yeah,
okay, you need it from PRH, you need it from Diamond, you need it from... and then you have to make sure that the information that PRH and Diamond and Lunar are getting are the actual useful bits of information. Like, if Marvel decides not to provide certain elements of it to PRH, who then doesn't provide it to Diamond, who then those distributors don't provide it to the stores, then it doesn't matter.
I spend a lot of time every week editing down the different invoices we get from the different publishers
Yes.
into what we consider to be the challengers format. And there's a lot of data that I just dump because
Sure.
all the titles are way too long.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
when you consider that the majority of our end users are looking at these things on their phone, and by these things I mean product listings or just a list of what's new this week
Sure.
or individual items, the titles are ridiculous. So I will always cut out parentheses, issue 7 of 12.
Sure.
I'll cut out
mature.
mature readers. I'll cut out every first and middle name for a cover.
Sure.
I'll cut out the word variant because IDW calls everything a variant. Variant A, variant B, variant C. It's just CVR A and then a last name. Unless it's like Lee, then I'll put Inhook Lee or Jim Lee to denote. But otherwise, most names are standard and specific to one creator.
Yeah.
Although there's apparently a Edge of Spider-Verse cover artist who's got a very similar name coming out. Which,
Very similar name.
until I see it, I won't believe it.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a problem. Just like there's 2 Ryan Browns.
There are 2 Ryan Browns, yeah. Spell their names slightly differently.
Yeah, one has an E. Yeah, I said it with a question
Yeah,
because that's
question
how.
mark.
Question mark in the end. That's right. But yeah, I have to put everybody, because everyone does it differently. And, for example, PRH doesn't use the pound sign for issue numbers. It's just the number,
Yep.
Fine, I'm not going to go add them in, I don't care. But when it's Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Doer, it becomes Batman, Joker, Deadly Duo.
Sure.
The ands and the thes have to go because then it's cover A, Mark Silvestri. Cover B, Wills Pertasio, Batman cover. Cover C, Wills Pertasio, Joker cover. Like the descriptors are way too long. The titles are way too long.
The amount of ones that now include the pencil, the inker, and the colorist sort of drives me crazy.
Yeah, look, no offense to the people that contribute to the art, but we're just using the pencil name.
They can get credited on the book. They don't need it in the solicitation.
In the title.
Yeah.
In the title line. So I just did that today for not next week, but the week after's DC and Marvel stuff, and it takes a long time, especially when there's 8 covers for Adventures of Superman The Adventures of Superman Jonathan Kent.
I think it's just not. Is it Jonathan Kent or John Kent?
Well, whatever. It's
a very long.
It's
title.
long. John Kent. I can be forgiven for getting small details.
Sure.
Incorrect.
You're distracted. I get it.
But yeah, it'd be great if that actually comes to fruition, and
We'll see. I
it'll
know
make a
there's
lot
been
of people's
there's been
lives
talk about
easier.
unifying data over the last couple years as basically, I mean, with the advent of multiple distributors, it's made the idea of getting all the data normalized to be a bigger priority. Like when single issue comic data was basically just coming from Diamond, it was very easy to have a Diamond interface and just be like, hey, let's talk to Diamond and make sure that we can get better data. Now it's like getting better data is only half of it. Getting everyone to do data the same way is the other half, and that's proving probably a bit more difficult.
Yeah. So that was one that I was able to catch
That's nice.
fully. I missed the keynote speech today. I forgot when it was on because I forgot about the time change.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that'll be available later. That was
Sure.
by Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor. Also, retailer Todd McDevitt got Marco Divanzo from Comics Pro. Really great gift.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Jim Rugg Amazing Spider-Man cover recreation by John Romita.
Mm-hmm.
It was where Spider-Man is beaten down by Man Mountain Marco,
Oh, okay.
and he put Marco Divanzo's face in Man Mountain Marco.
That's great.
And it looks just like a Romita piece.
That's
It's
great.
very, very well done. Everybody was using Comics Pro as informational dumps for their creative plans,
Okay.
which, fine, but that's not entirely what it's for.
No?
I mean,
I
that's
think
like
that'd be valuable.
that's a convention type of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a way to do it where it's more retailer oriented.
There
where
is,
it's not
but-
just saying like, hey, this is our plan, so much as like, all right, since you're retailers and you're the ones who are actually buying our stuff, we can talk to you about the business aspect of it.
Yeah, but you personally always hate when a publisher's panel is them going through their previous listing.
Sure. Well, I mean, if this is an announcement, that's not that.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I hate is when it's like, all of this information is already available.
Yeah.
Me having to sit here and hear you say it is pointless. I've already read it, or I can read it. But when it's an announcement of like, hey, we're doing a event called Night Terrors, there's obviously going to be a reader-facing component that's going to go out to the various news sites and stuff. But we are here as company representatives to talk to you about not just the story details, but why we think it's going to do well in your stores and what consumers it might be for and how we're supporting it.
You think that that's what they do?
I've been there. I've seen them do it before. They don't
Who
do
this is for?
They don't do it
How
well.
they're going to support it?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Okay, isn't that like the biggest complaint we always have? Like, who is this book for?
I'm not saying they do it, again, I'm not saying they do it well, or that they're correct, or that they do it every single time, but that is the focus of a lot of these panels, is we want your store's buy-in, so
Sure.
we're going to
Yeah.
try and explain it to you.
Okay. Now, we were not there,
Uh-huh.
and we didn't see this specific presentation, but who do you think Night Terrors is for? Also, I'm trying to say it with the K, so
yeah,
people realize it's a Knight Terrors.
Again, I wasn't at the panel, so I don't specifically know who that one would be for beyond just like DC readers. Like I my criticism of it from the outside seems like it's a very insular event. It's if you're already reading DC stuff, here's the theme for the month, not necessarily getting you to buy DC stuff you weren't already buying.
Yeah, what we do know is that it's part of their free comic book day offering is like the lead into it with art by Chris Pacello.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I like Chris Pacello.
With other artists as well.
Yeah.
And that this is going to be a 2-month event, I think July and August, where it's going to take the place of all of the DC publishing for those 2 months.
Yeah, similar to the Villain months or the Converge
month,
stuff.
yeah. And it'll be just a whole new series of 2-issue miniseries.
Sure.
You know, Batman Night Terrors, Superman Night Terrors,
Right.
Wonder Woman Night Terrors.
But they may not be by the normal creative teams or featuring the normal creators.
Yeah.
So it might be Batman Night Terrors, not by Chip Zdarsky at all.
It'll be each of these characters, heroes and villains, facing their greatest nightmares come to life.
Yeah, that was always the tricky thing about like the Villain Month stuff, is that it wasn't a one-to-one thing. They weren't replacing, say, Green Arrow with a Green Arrow book. They might be replacing it with an additional Batman villain or a Superman villain. So you'd have a similar amount of titles coming out, but instead of like 8 Batman titles, 4 Superman titles, and a bunch of other titles, you might get 12 Batman villains, 7 Superman villains, and then a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
So like you'd get less of the rest of it, where some books just wouldn't have any representation for that 2-month period or that month period.
I feel bad for the books that are launching, like that'll be in the new previews, like Cyborg or Green Lantern.
I'd
or
hope
Lantern.
that it would be something that wouldn't be too distracting
Disruptive.
from the current creative teams. Like, it's tricky because if this is July and August, you're launching books in May and June, like May for sure. I hope June.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you're like maybe 2 issues in and it's like, okay, we're taking 2 months off. So part of me is like, maybe don't skip every book.
Yeah.
You know, if you've just launched something, let that thing build ahead of steam. But replacing like Detective Comics for a couple months, it's fine.
Agreed. I just think that it is going to be resulting in considerably lower DC sales for those 2 months.
Yeah, I don't think it's playing to the strengths that DC has right now in some of its bigger titles and some of its more exciting launches.
And they're considering it their summer crossover.
Okay.
It is designed by Joshua Williamson, you know, because everyone loved Dark Crisis so much. I'm sorry, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, I'm super glad that thing's over.
Well, then you went right into Lazarus Planet, which
Well, that doesn't count.
doesn't...
Lazarus Planet doesn't count. No one
That's
read
fair.
that.
That's fair. My goodness. Somebody, and I didn't see this written anywhere other than a retailer saying it, but that DC is going to be reducing their number of titles. Is that anything you heard?
I had not.
I don't know how much digging you had done for Comics Pro News.
I've been reading the stuff that's been covered publicly by the Beat and Popverse.
Yeah.
But that's usually going to shy away from anything that hasn't been like on a panel or something. Like it's usually not going to be con gossip. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, they're not allowed in a lot of those type of scenarios, and also we won't really be talking about that stuff, even though we did for the data mining
Sure.
panel. but that's a topic near and dear to us specifically.
There was a thing that I don't know. I think it was on The Beat that was mentioned as at a DC panel back in, I guess, 2019.
Yeah,
maybe, or 2020, whatever the last one was for Comic Store. 2020, maybe.
2020 was the last in-person one.
A retailer was basically live tweeting a DC panel
yeah.
to a website that then a DC rep had to stop Dan DiDio from talking because all of this stuff was just going out.
I think
to a
that
site.
was in 2019.
Was it? Okay.
Because
I'd never heard that, because whatever site I would go to would not be the one that was reposting this, but
Sure.
it's still a thing of like, wow, retailers do not understand how professionalism works.
2020 was the year that they were going to be presenting the whole 5G universe,
Mm-hmm.
but then Dan was let go
Oh, was
like 5 days before that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I read the same thing where somebody was sharing it live as it was happening.
Yeah, I thought that was incredibly short-sighted.
But also, you're not surprised.
No, not at all. It's, again, retailers. I'm not surprised at all.
The bigger announcements from Marvel,
Uh-huh.
the biggest one, perhaps the ultimate announcement,
Ultimate Invasion from Jonathan Hickman and Brian Hitch.
the return to the Ultimate Universe.
In
or
some form?
is it?
In some form. It was a thing that when I'd seen the cover image of that, Brian Hitch had drawn of like the Ultimates and then like the Illuminati, I was just like, this doesn't sound fun to me. I lived through the Ultimate Universe in its entirety, and I was not thinking that the Marvel publishing line was weaker for not having it out there. Jonathan Hickman, though, in some coverage had said that, that was in his mind as well, where it's not just, hopefully, going to be them restarting the Ultimate Universe or just, going back to it or doing it in the same way. The approach this time seems to be that, like, the Marvel publishing line is very indebted to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which in turn was indebted to the Ultimate line.
Yeah,
So-
a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe came from the Ultimate Universe.
So doing an Ultimate line the way that it was done in the early 2000s would basically just be like a diluted version of the current Marvel publishing line, so it doesn't make any sense. So it seems like they're going to be approaching it more from, in a way, kind of reversing how it was done in the 2000s, where the Ultimate line was very like, this is reflecting the movies, and then the comics the Marvel was publishing outside of that were allowed to kind of be their own thing and test boundaries and push things in different directions. So it seems like that's what the Ultimate line is maybe going to be as a result of this Ultimate Invasion storyline, is something that's a little bit more divorced from having to address the status quo of the MCU. Like, there's a thing Tom Brevoort said, that Sam Wilson's going to be Captain America, at least as long as Sam Wilson is Captain America in the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Like, even if that's just repeating a story that they did a few years ago, they got to do it because people are going to go see a movie in Sam Wilson's cap, and they're going to want to go to a comic shop, theoretically, and see that same Captain America.
Theoretically.
But an Ultimate line that doesn't have to do that could be a completely different kind of Cap story. It could be something that is its own idea, its own universe, its own directive.
And the idea of a major Jonathan Hickman event book is something that we could look forward to from a retail side.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the last time that Jonathan Hickman was given kind of carte blanche to re-examine a section of Marvel's publishing history, he did House of X, Powers of 10. And that seemed like it did pretty well,
Yep.
Both creatively and financially. So I would not bet against him on this, even if it's something that doesn't necessarily trigger my nostalgia.
And even though it's only been it's been 20 years, a little over 20 years for the Ultimates line, that's generations.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been a new Ultimate book since, I think, 2015.
Yeah.
So it's been 7+ years.
It's funny. It's like, oh, Jonathan Hickman did Ultimate Hawkeye, and nobody read that book.
Oh, no, yeah.
But, now the idea of Jonathan Hickman coming back to the Ultimate line,
Sure.
it's a much bigger play.
Absolutely, yeah. There is a generation of readers that grew up on the Ultimate line. I think there's definitely going to be some interest, but there's a large part of our readership that's probably going to be just buying in because it's Hickman. Like, they don't necessarily have a specific fondness for the Ultimate line that's making them buy it, but they'll want to see what he's going to do on it.
Yeah, for sure. And it could have the ever-present huge sweeping changes for the status quo.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do.
The other Marvel announcement, which is slightly lesser, is Contest of Chaos.
I didn't hear that.
It is the cover is a Brian Hitch cover. Actually, was it Brian Hitch? I think it was. Where it's just like all the heroes and villains just battling each other on the cover.
Okay.
No idea what it's about or how long it is or
Probably a
who it
contest
features.
of some sort.
But it looks like our close personal friend Stephanie Phillips is the writer.
Okay.
That wasn't announced, but that was a thing she alluded to on the Instagrams.
Oh, okay. Cool. She's got 2 books out this week.
Yeah,
from
she does.
Marvel.
Yeah, she does. Cosmic Ghost Rider and
Rogue and
Gambit. One thing I forgot to mention about DC, since I was trying to do these in some sort of company order, DC is doing a manga line.
Yes, they're importing 3 manga.
Yeah, a Superman one, a Batman one, and a Joker one. That'll be DC Unlimited first, and then published in volumes later.
But they're so weird.
They're so weird.
The Batman one is the most straightforward. It sounds like just like a Batman story, but by manga creators. The Superman one is Superman basically because he's Superman, flies all over the world. He starts going to this like lunch place in Japan.
Yeah.
And it's basically like Oishinbo with Superman.
Okay. What would the man who could eat anything anywhere have for lunch?
But it's him like making a friend with like a guy at a Japanese restaurant, and they eat different foods, and it sounds bonkers, but I'm really excited to read it. The weirdest one though is the Joker one. Batman gets turned into a baby, and the Joker has to raise him back to be Batman.
Can't have Joker without a Batman.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, those two sound great.
And perfectly manga.
Oh, absolutely. Like, they each sound like stories where I'm like, oh, yeah, that's genius. I want to read that. So those sound really cool. We've not done terrifically well with superhero manga-oriented manga.
Yeah, mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean like My Hero Academia. That did great.
You mean Marvel
crossover. When Japanese publishers are doing original stories for DC and Marvel, the Bat manga that DC published from the 1960s or something did pretty well. I think it's out of print now. At least the first one is. Marvel stuff though has not done well. They did a like secret reversal or something like that.
Yep.
That was, I guess, written by somebody who had done Yu-Gi-Oh! Or some other book, and it never clicked. There wasn't any reader demand for it. Deadpool Samurai did okay for the first one, and then no one came back for the second one.
Nope. I mean, that's a lot of manga, though, for new manga titles. People not coming back for the second one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they usually just don't come back for 4.
Yeah.
Usually at least read the first 3. But these sound like they could be pretty fun, and I think there might be a little bit more crossover with regular DC readers who would maybe not look in the manga section. We'll see.
Also, this year, 2023, is the 60th anniversary of the Avengers.
Okay.
The X-Men.
Okay.
The Doctor Who.
Okay.
These are not necessarily all Marvel things.
Well, Doctor Who is for a little bit.
I'm just saying that there will be celebrations for all those things in some capacity.
Me. Do you know what this is the 50th anniversary of 2023?
I don't.
The Direct Market.
Oh, I did know that, yeah.
ICV2's been doing a bunch of coverage on. Jim McLaughlin did a really fun retrospective on
Phil Sealing. From Seagate.
Yeah, and basically talking to people who were there when he started comics distribution as we know it, and the direct market as a result. I had not known that he'd also basically created comic conventions.
Yeah.
Which
Sealing cons.
Yeah, prior to his version of it, it was basically just like flea markets. Like you would just have
swap meets.
Yeah, booths of people with boxes and whatever, and a few dozen people would show up. He was the one who's like, basically, it sounds like bringing in a lot of like the sci-fi convention stuff, where it's like panels, guests, auctions, all that sort of stuff.
This isn't going to help anybody who listens to this, but that is a link to that article is in our Instagram story today.
Oh, cool.
So that'll long have been gone by the time people hear this.
I like that Bud Plant's even like, people give me credit too, but I was just copying him. Wow. Thank you, Butt Plant.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by the history of the direct market, and I really want there to be more books on it. There's some,
Yeah.
and there's I really want there to be, and I've said this before, a Chicago-based retail book for the history of Chicago retailers.
Sure.
But I don't want to be the one to write it.
No.
I think it should be Frank Davis.
There you go.
And I think that would be a good read.
Sure.
And have a very limited market.
Yes.
To who would
very
actually
small.
care for it. Yeah.
Maybe a blog.
Maybe. It could be. I heard that starting in April, Diamond's shipping costs are going to be lowered by 40%.
Lowering shipping costs. Who does that?
Yeah, right? Who does do that, Dal? Why don't you tell us?
We reduced our shipping costs for people ordering stuff off of challengerscomics.com. We introduced a new $6 flat rate shipping option. We still kept the priority mail one. So if you'd rather get your stuff a little faster, I don't think it's going to be a lot faster, but maybe a little faster.
We don't know for sure.
You can still choose priority mail. It's priority mail is $9.50 for orders up to $100, $15 for $100 to $150, and then we are doing flat rate, $6 shipping for anything up to $150, and then anything over $150 is free shipping.
What?
And it's
Free?
Yeah,
Come
free
on.
shipping.
Losing money.
I hope not losing money.
Losing money. All those Deadpool heads, which are now sold.
Which are all sold. But yeah, that's right now at challengerscomics.com. It's automatically happening. You don't need like a code for it or anything. So hopefully people who are further away who've been meaning to get stuff off of our website will now find it more economical to do so on a regular basis.
It seems like every week there's more and more reasons to buy things from challengerscomics.com or keepreadingcomics.com, which just forwards to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just wanted to keep that one as well.
Okay. That's cool.
There's also I love you, but I've chosen comics.com. But that goes to an enamel pin on the website.
I see.
Maybe it doesn't anymore. I wonder if it still does.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check that. Who can tell? Something else that I thought was interesting was Boom Studios always makes announcements for the retail community.
Yes.
Like, it's not just, hey, here's what we're doing. For example, as far as publications go, Damn Them All will come back for another arc. Briar will come back for another arc.
Yep.
Fence, their formerly single issue and then just original graphic novels
YA
fencing
series.
YA series are coming back for single issues. Announcements like that for content.
Berserker's getting a one-shot, and then they're going
A
to be...
series of one-shots by all different creators.
Yeah, and then they're going to be taking they mentioned a couple other series where they're going to try and find some, like Coda's getting some stuff.
Yeah.
Revisiting some of their older properties.
But from the publishing side to the retailers, they are reducing their variant covers by 15%,
Okay.
which is helpful.
Yeah.
They've already announced a return to their guaranteed return program where they're going to be putting in more covers because they reduced the number of covers that were returnable, but they're...
Yeah, I think one of the things they said is that at least the A cover is going to be returnable, if not additional covers.
Yeah, as opposed to just like the
Boom guarantee cover.
Yeah. Yeah, I think making the A cover returnable is...
And then something you mentioned a few months back, they are going to be offering freight credits.
Yes, that starts next week or so.
I think so.
Freight credits for anything you order from them, which is a rebate on your shipping costs, which are already going down, so that's pretty wonderful. And they're going to be doing, they're going to be sending retailers some sturdy, reusable point-of-purchase displays and
Sounds great.
promotional items.
I would love it.
Yeah, Boom is always looking at how they could help their retail partners. So that was some of the things that they announced.
That's cool.
Blowing through the few notes that I took, really.
Oh, no.
One of the... Well, I mean, this whole episode couldn't be Comics Bro.
No.
I mean, it was going to
It
be.
was going to be, sort of.
But it was going to be different.
Oh, no.
This is a historical anecdote from my time in comics retail. Bill Shanes, who started Pacific Comics, Pacific Distribution.
Okay.
He eventually wound up working at Diamond. I think Diamond bought out Pacific Distribution, and he went to work for them.
He was a VP of something.
Yeah. And he left them in, I think, 2015. Well, now he's a consultant for Oni.
Okay.
That was announced this weekend.
Yep.
He's back into the comics business. But one of the things that specific to me is when in a previous life at a previous store, when there was multiple distributors, as opposed to now when there are multiple distributors, you know, that we started out with Friendly Franks and Capital City with Byron. And Byron was speaking. Diamond gave a push to get us to come over to them. And it was Bill Shanes who reached out. But it was Bill Shanes who reached out to me.
Wow.
To get me to switch for that chain. And the person whose name was actually part of that chain was not very excited to have not him reached out to.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
But ultimately, we did switch to whomever, switched to Diamond.
We at the time, they at the present.
Before they bought Capital. So we left Capital to Wither and moved to Diamond. And then Challengers have been with Diamond ever since.
Yes.
Ever since we opened.
When we opened, we didn't really have a choice.
That's true.
Now we have divested ourselves of a lot of the Diamond non-exclusive publishers.
Yeah, I've also divested myself of all of my Comics Pro notes.
Oh, golly.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily have a ton of other things to talk about.
Well,
and
you
I don't
haven't
know how
been
much,
in the store a lot.
I don't know how much longer I have to go. I can tell you that this is not good right now. Oh, I'm going to yawn and stretch. Oh, my goodness. And there'll be a point in the future, in a different episode, when this is all explained, but not right now.
No.
Not right now. What did I read? What did you read? I feel like I read some.
I haven't
previews.
really read much in the way of previews because I don't feel like I've been given a lot. There was
Yeah.
a thing, The Neighbors or something, that's coming out from Boom.
Yeah, I keep meaning to read that, but I haven't yet.
They didn't give us a PDF.
Oh, because I have that email sitting unopened.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's been a few Boom #1s recently that didn't include a PDF.
Well, they do send us the weekly website login information. Like, we can go to their site and download stuff.
I
but
want
I never
a
do
link
that.
in an email. That's it.
Yeah, that's the same.
The more I got to go hunting for it, the less I'm going to go hunting for it.
I think it was Keptar that I read.
Yes, I did read the last few pages of Keptar.
It doesn't help.
And the first few pages of the next issue of Public Domain.
Yeah.
I know.
Yep, that's true.
I did read Saga this week.
Yeah, how was that?
Patrick, did you read Saga this week?
No, of course I did.
Did you read the letter column of Saga
I
this
meant
week?
like issue 36 of Saga. That's where I stopped.
Patrick, you had a letter in the letter column of Saga this week.
So, funny story. I did, in fact, have a letter in the letters column of Saga this week.
Despite being about 7 years behind in reading Saga.
That's accurate. Yeah, that's about fair. And it was a good response. It was a thorough response from BKV, and he touched on a lot of things I said. The funny part of that is that specific letter was mailed into Saga about 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
It was 2019, was it, when we started that Letters Club?
Don't remember.
Whatever, 2018, 2019? Anyway, we were doing a store letter writing club that was came up with by Donovan Challenger and her penchant for handwriting letters. And her typewriter is still in the back room as a result of that.
Is that right?
Yeah. She came up with specific stationery she had made for it and a little stamp for it as well.
I got a letter that I wrote printed in a KODT.
Nice.
Which was tricky because it was a handwritten letter, and it's like, well, letter columns don't like handwritten letters.
Yeah,
for the
because
most part.
they have to re.
Like they'd rather get
my
emails,
Saga
they
letter.
can cut and paste.
My Saga letter was handwritten, but they prefer.
Yes,
handwritten
I
letters.
think they exclusively. It has to be not handwritten, but it has to be. They don't. You don't send an email.
Right.
It has to be hard copy, so you could type it up, but you need to send them a letter or a postcard.
So the point of our letter writing club was that we would pick a book each month, and we'd whoever showed up, we'd all write a letter to that book, and then you could write a letter to somebody else. For example, Knight's Dinner Table.
Yeah, or Kaiju Max.
Yeah, whomever.
Yeah.
So Saga was who we picked for the first one, and that's where that letter came from. And the irony of it is there's like 5 other letters that were sent in at the same time. Maybe they'll all make it at some point.
Maybe. I can't remember how topical they might be anymore. Yours was very non-topical, which is probably why it eventually got used.
Yours was Don't Kill Goose.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember
Yeah, yours was don't kill Goose, or I will never sell this comic again. Something like that.
Something
like
some threat.
Don't put Goose on the cover, because then I'll think he's going to die.
I do every single time Goose shows up on the cover of Saga. I think, oh god, this is the one where they're going to kill Goose, because they've killed a lot of characters over the years for Saga, some minor, some very major, but Goose is the one where it's like, I don't know that I could keep reading it after this.
Sure.
Like, that's a trigger they could pull that would be like, the book is too dark for me now.
No, that's when it's too dark.
Yeah. Yeah, you can kill off, main characters who have been in nearly every single issue, but you kill off Goose and I gotta check out. I'm sorry. I got standards, Patrick.
I do want to point out that something from last episode has changed already. We made a very sly reference to the episode number last episode of being 625, and how you should keep that date aside in your mind for an amazing thing.
In your mind calendar.
In your mind calendar. In your mind calendar. Thank you, Deb. In your mind calendar. Well, that date has moved up.
My least favorite King Crimson album, by the way.
Wow, a King Crimson reference. That's amazing. That's real good.
Anyway, sorry. The date has changed.
It has moved forward by 2 dates to June 23rd.
Okay.
Which is a Friday.
Can we travel back in time and tell people to remember episode 623?
Maybe.
Can you dump that in there? Repost it?
On any other week? Yes.
Just do it before June 23rd.
Not today. So yeah, mark that day on your calendar. You're going to definitely want to be at the store. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds exciting. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah, it definitely is. No one is more excited than we are, although I definitely don't sound it today. And I don't sound a lot of things, including like I can continue. So we're making this one super short. I'm very sorry. There are mitigating factors as to why, and
you'll hear more about them in future episodes.
Or not.
Maybe you can just ask at the store if Patrick ever goes back.
I may be dead. Thanks for listening, albeit briefly.
And keep reading comics forever.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.